What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description below and along the timeline, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe and maybe that notification bell too, as it all really helps out our channel. And if you do have time, join us over on Twitter too for some wholesome memes, and over on Discord where we've got some amazing people, you know, if you just fancy a chat or that kind of thing. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from South Sky 8148. Am I the arsehole for not firing an employee over something extremely stupid? I, 57 male, own a small business. There's only about 20 employees that work for me, but recently I hired someone new. She seemed like a great fit at first, but she started stirring up trouble, mainly with one of my hardest working employees. I didn't know this, but apparently he has an OnlyFans. The new employee came to my office one day holding a folder. Keep in mind, she's been here for less than a month. She dropped the folder on my desk and opened it up. She went into a spiel showing several pictures of him and other men doing things you'd expect to see on a porn account. She started talking about how inappropriate and disgusting it was for him to be doing things like this. I felt like this was especially dumb because she was looking at porn and wanted to degrade people making it. She said he was putting out a horrible representation of our company. I really felt like this wasn't fair because it's entirely up to him what he wants to do outside of work and I don't control his body. She just got a lot angrier and started demanding me to fire him. I told her to shut up and get out. Probably what's making me wrong here. She went out and told everyone else and now they're demanding me to fire him too. I'd get it if we were watching children or something similar, but we're literally just making drawings for games. So, am I the arsehole for not firing him? Was I in the wrong here? Hell no, you're not the arsehole in this situation. Maybe if he was pushing people to try and join his OnlyFans account in the workplace, saying, oh look, you got to join me, have a look at this, and showing it in their faces, that might be totally inappropriate. But if she went out of her way to find this account and then sharing it with everyone and telling everyone in the office, shouting out to them, look, he has an OnlyFans account, that's totally inappropriate on her account, and I think she deserves the disciplinary for that, even if she is your best employee or not. I think what people do in their own time with their OnlyFans accounts and things like that is up to them, you know. People are not forced to sign up to OnlyFans accounts, so, you know, it's up to them. It's not a forced thing to do. So guys, sign up to my OnlyFans account. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Can you imagine? Anyway. So I'm going to say not the arsehole in this situation. Let's go to the comments below to see what we can find. Nixie Pixie says not the arsehole. She had to seek those things out and likely had to pay to see them. To my knowledge, it is also against OF rules to print pictures of the content, and it is definitely revenge porn for her to give those photos to you and others without his consent. Good for you for not firing him, and I'd personally choose to fire her. She's toxic. And OP replies to this saying, I think I will fire her, to be honest. And Nixie Pixie replies again saying, good, I would also suggest a meeting or at least an email about people's lives outside of work being their own and no one else's business. His work life will become hell due to no fault of your own, of course, and sadly, as a manager, it's your job to do damage control. Be clear that anyone found holding his personal life against him will share the same fate as this woman. Mooseblood07 says, not the arsehole, in fact, I think you're a great manager, I'd consider firing her though. Chuck Darnett says, not the arsehole, she's violated his privacy and outed him at work. She should probably be disciplined. OP replies to this in, he was already out but no one's ever shown any form of homophobia or anything. The girls have a lot of fun trying to set him up with other guys, but I guess it's because he posts porn that they're upset with him now. I'm really not sure. Solely Curious says, not the arsehole, I'd fire her for fostering a hostile work environment and trying to force you to discriminate against another employee. His side job is his business and in no way, shape or form impacts his ability to competently perform the job he does for you. It also sounds like there's some pretty aggressive homophobia at work here. That's the kind of thing that would probably open you up to legal liability if you did cave to your other employees. Probably worth sitting them down and explaining to them that you're an equal opportunity employer and harassment will not be tolerated in the workplace. Now, I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Kate Lee. Am I the arsehole for telling my aunt and uncle I would only babysit for them if they pay me $200 a night? I'm 19 female, I'm a college student and I still live with my parents. When I was 16, I was forced to babysit my triplet cousins for my aunt and uncle. I babysat 3 times forced and it was awful. They behaved terribly and broke stuff in their house, stuff that was mine, and it was crazy for a few hours. I refused after with the support of my parents because they were pissed my cell phone was thrown out the window by one of the kids, and my aunt and uncle refused to pay for the damage. Since then, they've been able to keep a babysitter, and some actually leave the house screaming according to a couple of their neighbours. They act out everywhere. Nobody in the family wants to babysit either, but they're my aunt and uncle's miracle babies, and I know they are special, so I've always tried to be respectful about the whole thing. They asked me Wednesday if I could babysit for them tonight, Saturday, and I said no. They told me they really needed me to say yes. I told them I would do it for $200. You can imagine they weren't happy, and they called me an arsehole, said we're family and family should help each other. I told them they needed to find someone else. They asked me again yesterday, and I brought up my conditions, and they said no. So I said that was my answer too. Am I the arsehole? My aunt even called my mum pissed about it, and my mum told her I was an adult and could make my own decisions. And I think that last line just sums it up there. You're an absolute adult, you can make your own decisions in life, and if they don't want to pay $200, that's on them. You know, you have your own right to set your own price on the babysitting duties. And the fact that one of the kids chucked out your mobile phone out of the window is crazy in itself. I'd absolutely lose my shit, and they refused to pay for it. What the hell, man? I can't see you being the asshole in the situation, but we'll go straight to the comments below to see what we can find. Albo Monstera says, not the arsehole. I wonder why they're having trouble finding a babysitter. / sarcasm. Sunset Lesbian says, absolutely not the arsehole. You don't owe your personal time to them, and if their kids act out that badly, they definitely need to find a professional sitter, and they know that. Also, the fact that your phone was broken last time and they refused to pay for the damages is absolutely rude too. OP replies to this saying, that's why I wanted such a high price. Honestly, $300 would have been more than a fair price in my opinion, because I would either injure myself trying to get them into bed, already happened once, sprained ankle, or I'd need to replace something, or I would literally be on my feet all night running around because there is no such thing as watching TV with them. They can't even keep the professional sitters. They couldn't keep them in daycares or at home childcare either. Geriznai says, not the arsehole. They demand you to babysit 3 demons and don't even pay. Lol. Good luck on finding anybody. OP replies, they offered me $30 for the night. Yeah, right. Anyways, I'm going to turn this one to you guys, even though I pretty much know where this one will go. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Moonrise93. Am I the arsehole for not grieving over my brother anymore? Hi Reddit, sorry for the long post. My little brother died 7 years ago from cancer. He passed away exactly 1 week before he would have turned 17. He was 4 years younger than me, 27 female, and our older sisters are now 36 and 37. My brother and I had a pretty average little brother older sister relationship. Caught him trying to put a hidden camera in my room once while I was in the shower, but overall nothing really bad. I was still living at home when he was diagnosed, just started college, working midnights and stayed at home to help mum. Our older sister had their own families to deal with, so they weren't around much. We lived in a small town with a supportive community. I did a lot of grieving before he even passed away. The doctors were blunt with us, it was grade 4 brain cancer and he had a small chance of surviving. We did a lot of fun stuff the year before he passed, saw a lot of movies together, took archery lessons, that kind of stuff. Sadly, his last few months were total hell, and by the time he did pass away, I was just glad he wasn't suffering anymore. I attended the wake and the funeral, helped organise the flowers, gave a eulogy, continued to cook for my parents and kept the house tidy for the following months. 2 years later, our own town named a park after him. No ceremony, they just announced a decision at a town meeting and showed off the plaque. I did not attend this meeting and received a barrage of text messages and phone calls from both my sisters saying I was an arsehole. I should have been there and that my absence was like a knife to my parents' heart. Neither of my parents said anything to me about it. Since then, my parents have set up a scholarship in my brother's name, funded by the leftover money people donated when he was diagnosed. Every year they get dozens of essays and insist the entire family sit down, read through them and decide who deserves the scholarship. September is a childhood cancer awareness month, and October is the month my brother passed away, / his birthday month. My parents spend both months grieving and posting depressing things on social media. They have a birthday dinner for him every year and prompt us to share our greatest memories of him. Mum drinks and cries. I don't like attending these grieving activities. I don't like dragging up memories or watching my mum cry. Maybe I'm an arsehole, but I just don't feel sadness or grief anymore, just indifference. I don't want to read essays about him by kids who are just looking for money. I understand and respect that my parents will probably never stop grieving, and I will never tell him it's time for them to stop grieving. I would just prefer it if they didn't try to include me. Am I the arsehole for that? My sisters tell me I am, frequently. Now, as you know, I know I say it a lot, and I'm sorry if you don't like hearing about it all the time, but what I love about these stories is that, you know, they're all, most of them can be relatable in some form or another, and this one is hugely relatable to me about the way I feel about grief and things like that. I grieve probably in a very different way to most people now, as I've seen several people die. Like I was literally there, the last person to watch one of my relatives die in the last, I think it was last year. And it was a strange experience, but also an honor to be there at the same time. And basically, when it comes to grieving, I'm pretty much, the only way I can explain it is feel numb. And I know some people might say, oh, that's not a healthy way to feel, but that's just the way I feel, and that's the way I cope with it. And it's good for me, and it works for me. I'm not depressed. I don't feel depressed about it or anything like that. I've been through depression. Don't worry about that. I know when I'm at my limit, you know. But that's the way I feel, and it comes across that's the way OP feels, and I can totally understand. And I think I'd feel the same way about not wanting to attend these things. I mean, I wouldn't mind attending like a small little memorial for my parents' sake, but a whole night or month even of bringing up all these memories constantly and seeing people crying and getting drunk because of it, I don't think is a healthy way with grief. But everyone grieves differently, and I think that's the overall thing here. You know, people deal with grief in a whole different selection of ways, and as long as you're not harming yourself, I think you deal with it how you want to deal with it is the best way. And I've got to say, not the arsehole in this situation. I go to the comments below to see what we can find. Brooklyn Peter says, not the arsehole, your sisters are the arseholes. It is perfectly normal, especially after 7 years, for grief to become a much more subtle part of your life. On the other hand, for some people, perhaps especially parents who have lost a child, it is perfectly normal for grief to remain front and centre. It doesn't sound like your lack of involvement in these grieving rituals bothers your parents, mostly. It sounds like judgmental, holier-than-thou sisters. Diet Coke is God says, no one's an arsehole here, but please understand that for parents, grief can sometimes never end, and they won't understand that you have healed and moved on. Be compassionate. Bashfully Bai says, what the fuck? He put a hidden camera in your room. I was waiting for that comment somewhere. Cricket said, no one's an arsehole here. It's hard to lose a child. My mum grieves for my brother still after 23 years, but I'm more grieved out. I prefer to think he's in a better place, and I can't be sad about that. Now, I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Admirable Horse. Am I the arsehole for allowing a dad to humiliate his son in my class? I teach 5th grade, which is usually a hit or miss in terms of behaviour. I have one student, Kelvin, who's quite disruptive. He's a class clown, except is not cute. The other day, he climbed on top of the tables in the library and started dancing when he thought I was not looking. I've tried different ways to work around it, including, but I feel like I can no longer be Mr. Nice Guy. I assumed that his parents spoil him, so I was hesitant to talk to them because he seemed like he was a lost cause. This kid has his own driver. Boy, was I wrong. I did speak to his dad, who was furious. He brought him to me and apologised. He said if he did ever get a bad report like he did with the library, then he would just sit him in the class like he was a baby. That threat seemed to get Calvin's attention, but seemed empty. I mean, the dude doesn't even have time to drop his kid off at school. Things were fine for a while, then he started up with purposely giving stupid answers when I called on him. I pulled him to the side and asked him if he wanted his dad to babysit him in school, and he said no, because his dad wouldn't do it, because it would embarrass him. So I emailed his dad and asked if he could sit with him in class. Calvin didn't know it was going to happen and kept telling his dad to go. His dad stayed with him all day and Calvin hated it. He micromanaged, bossed and snapped at him all day. I think the worst part was having his friends laugh at him. Calvin did cry a few times. His dad was like the boss from hell. Ever since then, his behaviour has improved. And I know people will ask why I wasn't more hands-on with discipline. This is a 25 to 35k a year private school. A lot of parents are famous entertainers and there's a long wait list to get in. They are very different than a public school. Edit, for people saying I don't understand Calvin or he needs a male role model or whatever, I get boys like him because I was a 10-year-old myself. It is not difficult at all for me to relate to the boys in my class because I remember what my interests/problems were at that age. I take an interest in them and they take an interest in me, especially my tattoos when I wear a polo. There are things I know about these kids that their parents don't. However, I'm not their psychologist and Calvin doesn't need a psychologist. He's 10 and hitting puberty and his brain is going haywire. And you're damn right, I was thrilled that the dad stepped in. I came out looking like the good guy and did less work. You know, in some of this I kind of get it that you're totally fed up with it, but I can't see as like, humiliating someone is the right way to go about it. Humiliating a kid who's 10 in front of everyone, you really think that's going to work in the long term? Because I think that's just going to cause some sort of resentment, some kind of psychological issue further down the line that's going to make things a lot worse. And you've got to wonder what this kid's home life is like for him to be acting out this way in school. But I personally think humiliation is never going to be the answer. Maybe some of you might think different on this one, but I personally don't feel that way. I don't feel like humiliating a kid is the right way to go about things. But we'll go to the comments below to see what we can find. Mum of Boys 24 says, "You're the arsehole and the father is too. I don't think that humiliation is an effective teaching tool. It is concerning that this is the first strategy the father suggested. I can't help but wonder what discipline is like at the home. There are many other ways that you could have worked with the parents to help this child understood why his behaviour was inappropriate. 2 full-grown adults making a 10-year-old cry should not have been one of them." A Flying Trout says, "Everyone sucks here except the child. The kid is learning from those around him. Discipline shouldn't involve humiliation and alienation, and doing so usually just makes kids into bigger arseholes than they were before." Philosophy says, "I was Calvin, class clown, very early ADHD diagnosis, emphasis on hyperactivity. 5th grade, I almost stabbed my teacher running with scissors and somehow always managed to get into disagreements with the other kids. I was not spoiled but instead beaten at home, heavily. Mr. Stewart, my teacher at the time, took a similar approach to yours. Very punitive. I got blamed for everything. He told my mother I wouldn't graduate from high school. You know, I'll never forget it. That shame I internalized from such formative years is something that limited my potential and I will have to work on for the rest of my life. I'm somewhat successful overall, but my self-esteem is shit. True life satisfaction often seems so far from reach. Shame on you for shaming children. Shame on you for judging them instead of attempting to understand these kids and the roots leading to behaviours. Everyone sucks here, except for Calvin." And Wiselock Counter says, "You're the arsehole. Public humiliation is not a valid pedagogic tool, damn it. You're a teacher. Didn't you learn anything about child psychology before earning your diploma? Maybe that kid was awful, but he was still just a kid. You have no idea how this experience will affect him and his development. Also, you don't know anything about the larger situation. If the dad was constantly an abusive, neglectful parent, it's totally normal for the boy to act out. Traumatized children will do that. If you really tried to manage the kid and it still didn't work, the next step will be to involve an educational psychologist. You work in a rich school, you should have one of those handy." Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Was the kid treated the right way? Was it all totally wrong? Is public humiliation the right way to go about it to make him change his ways? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe, that notification bell too, and maybe join us on Twitter or on Discord. It'd be great to see you on either of those. Wholesome memes going on over there guys. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care guys, much love.